Well, welcome along to this podcast. We're sitting in the beautiful Roxy Theatre at Matakana Cinemas. It's the film man and the film fan. So my name's Brent and I'm the film fan. And my background is I work in radio, but I really love movies. They're my favourite things. I think the first movie I ever saw was The Wizard of Oz at the Mount Albert Cinemas with my older brother Warwick. I cried through all of it and he had to take me out. And I remember very clearly him telling Mum that I was the most embarrassing kid he'd ever hung with. And with me is the manager of Matakana Cinemas, Dan Paine.
Hey, thanks, Brent. Yes, that is me. Happy to be here. This is a long time coming. Yeah, we've been talking about this one for a while. A work in progress. This is the first episode, of course. Yes, I am in the fortunate position of owning a cinema. Some would say not so fortunate through a pandemic, but here we are. I tell you what, I still love my job. I'm a big movie film fan, and I'm also the film man. So here we are to talk industry and also films upcoming. So that's the general gist of this, right, Brent? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start off by talking about the industry because we've been through a pandemic and fingers crossed it looks like we're coming out the other side. So how hard has it been?
How do we stage this? So 2020 was really interesting and we had the Northern Hemisphere basically closed down. So the issue with us here in New Zealand at that time was we were open, we were rocking along, everything was going pretty well down here. But up north, cinemas were shut down. And what did the big distributors, mainly based in the US, do? They decided we're not going to put any films out because there was nowhere to show them. Unfortunately, in New Zealand, a small market here, we weren't actually able to get any of that big content because it was just moving back. And Bond, the latest Bond film is a classic example. It's funny, the original posters, which we had up even when we eventually did release it on December the 3rd, 2021, was April 2020.
Right.
So that's when it was meant to release.
Wow.
So that was a really good example of those big pictures just being shunted. Then we moved into 2021. And, as has been the case, New Zealand has been kind of behind the eight ball, for better or for worse, when it's come to the pandemic. So we kind of catch things a few months later. And so then we started hitting these big lockdowns. And when you're a bricks and mortar theatre, you are shut. The doors are shut. Yeah. We can't do any business. And that's been a real struggle. We've been really fortunate to have been, helped by the government on the one hand, and our landlord's been fantastic. And I can speak for all of the village tenants, here in Matakana that we've been really well looked after. And that has, quite frankly, been a saviour for the business. And then we move to right now. All of a sudden, we're starting to see some really big films come back in. And here in Auckland, we had that big 13-week lockdown between August and December the 3rd last year. Yeah. To reiterate the point, we were closed, couldn't show movies. But what was really nice is that when we got to open on the 3rd of December, we got to relaunch with Dune, fantastic film. Yeah. The Bond film. Yeah. And then on December the 16th, of course, we had the juggernaut, the worldwide juggernaut, which was Spider-Man. And at the end of the day, content is king.
Yes.
So if you've got films that people want to see, they will come to the theatre. If they're 50-50 about something, they might wait until it's on the streaming channels. And I've just segued myself into that discussion. Sure. I personally believe that streaming and theatrical can live in harmony.
Right.
There's a Stevie Wonder song in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
The problem has been with the pandemic is that theatres have been shut, content's been shunted by the distributors, so streaming has really risen to prominence. And that's great for streamers and that's great for people at home wanting entertainment, at home. And we'll still want that. I watch shows on streaming. However, you cannot beat the big screen experience, can you, Brent?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I just love going to the movies and you kind of have a ritual.
Yep.
So I want to see something on the big screen because, that's how they're filmed. They're filmed to be seen not on your 60-inch TV, on a big screen in the cinema. You got to have your M&Ms or your Jaffas and your big drink and you sit there. And the difference is, I think, when you're watching a movie on streaming and you're at home, there's always those temptations that are always there when you're watching television. Someone's got their phone out. You're tempted to look up stuff about the movie while you're watching it. Where was this filmed and all those kind of things. But I think when you're in the cinema, you're just immersed in what's going on and there's no distractions. And that's what I love. And you come out and you really take in what the movie was about. Sometimes I watch movies on streaming and I go, I think I missed half of that. How did they get from there to there? So the big screen experience is definitely the thing.
Absolutely. I think that's the challenge for us, though, in the exhibition sector of the industry is how do we get bums back on seats? Because I really believe that cinema going is it's habitual. So that has been knocked on the head big time in the last 2 years. And what you want to do is get people back into the theatre and they see the trailer for the next big film.
Yes. If
we're programming those trailers correctly on the right films, they're seeing a trailer for a film that will appeal to the audience that are sitting in that theatre, right?
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, is getting people back into that habit. And it's really interesting, when we did start getting people back in, often the comment was as people walked out of the door, hey, how was the film? We'd ask them. It was really great to be back in a cinema again. I forgot how good it was. And that was all the time, people walking out and saying that. It was really comforting to hear. Yet it remains a massive challenge for us. And I really do believe that as an industry on the whole, not just exhibitors and not just distribution, we need to work together and find some solutions going through 2022 and into 2023. I think we're still in for a bit of a, maybe not long haul, but of a medium haul with this pandemic. Nevertheless, we don't know.
No.
So we've got a plan, and I'll also challenge theatres, and myself as a business owner in this industry. We've got to look at ways of, being the best that we can be, providing a clean and safe environment, playing the best content we can, marketing to people to get people in the door. It's a two-way street. You can't just rely on the content, and you can't just rely on people, getting up off their seats. What are we doing to make it a really great option, not just here at Matakana Cinemas, but a challenge to all the exhibitors out there. Where can we really step up?
Well, I think of what we're doing now with this podcast. I think the important story to tell, and we've already mentioned it, is the love of going to the cinema. It's all about get that feeling back.
Yep.
Make it a family event. We always sit down and go, plan out what movies will my wife and I see, what will I go see with my daughter Aiden, who's producing this podcast for us, and what will we see as a family that everybody can agree on and go out and have a good time. And I think getting back to those traditional values of let's go out and make Saturday night the movie night or Friday night the movie night, that's what we really have to convince people to do again.
I think a real modern challenge, actually, I theorize a lot. This head gets quite busy when it comes to industry thinking, right? Is we're less time rich.
True.
People are working more couples are working more, extracurricular activities for kids, taking the easy option of sitting on the couch and watching something at home. And that's our challenge that we're dealing with, is how do we maximize the time that people have? Is it a weeknight? Is it a couple of hours on a weekend? And carve out a bigger slice of the entertainment piece of the pie in someone's week. How do we do that?
It's about reminding people to take that time out. Because, for example, when Jungle Cruise came out in streaming, we all wanted to see it, but because everybody was busy, we all saw it at different times. So it basically took us 3 weeks to see the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you go to the cinema, you sit down, you see it together.
Yeah.
And then there's something to talk about and tell your friends about. So, I think you're right. It is finding that time, but reminding people that, going to the cinema is an event. It's a family outing, incorporate getting some dinner and all these kind of things and make it a real good night out.
And what are the challenges for the consumer? We want our guests to come to the cinema. We're always interested to understand, what are the hitches around, I'm not going to go to the cinema because of this or that. Is it cost? Is it, always wanting to understand and get feedback from people about, where their pain points are. And look, people are going to be struggling a bit more this year. And so does that impact on entertainment budgets, and thinking about where can I reallocate that money, and that kind of thing. And that's a real challenge, of course, as well. Macro events really impact any industry, for better or for worse.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. No, that's good. So we'll have to come up with a cunning plan, Dan, to get everybody back in the cinema.
Yes. I'm liking your thinking there, Brent.
Yeah. The best thing is some movies. So what are some of the big movies we've got coming up?
Well, what we thought we'd do, right, with this podcast is we're thinking around about a month. Honestly, everyone, this is a real work in progress. I'll just reiterate that. And also, I want to give a massive shout out to our producer, Aidan.
Yes.
What a fantastic job setting us up in here.
Yeah.
And I know the sound's good.
Yeah.
And we're hoping the pictures are good as well.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're looking all right here, Brent.
Yeah, that's right. As long as she's using the thinner filter on me, that should be okay.
Yes, okay. Yep. I'm not quite sure what filter I need. Aidan, let me know. But yes, of course, we're thinking that we'll do this monthly, right?
Yes.
And we'll try and look ahead to what's coming up potentially over the next few months, but certainly a focus on the next month. And here in New Zealand, we've got the Easter and April school holidays coming up.
Yeah.
What I'm really excited about is, March has been a little bit brutal. It's been quite tough. There's been an Omicron wave through Auckland in particular and New Zealand. And naturally, there are some fears about going to the theatre, which I would happily debunk in the near future on a future podcast maybe.
Yeah.
But looking ahead to the content, because I think it's been a little bit art house laden. I'm a huge art house film fan. I'm a film fan in general.
Yes.
And I know you are.
Yeah.
So my taste is quite broad. However, I think what we've got coming up is a lot of fantastic stuff when we're looking at the mid-range to blockbuster and family film slate of titles. And of course, with the school holidays coming up, the distributors, they drop a whole lot of films in there. So speaking of delayed films, we've got Morbius, which is Jared Leto playing the scientist who tries to give himself a blood transfusion, ends up being a vampire. It's a Marvel film.
Yeah.
Tracking in the US for that film's been off the charts. It was delayed from January for a couple of reasons, not actually anything to do with Omicron, so that one's been delayed. That comes out on March 31st. Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Yes. Who'd have thought? I mean, remember when they released the first trailer for Sonic and everyone said it was about the teeth, right?
It was about the teeth.
It was all about the teeth on Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic's teeth were just too actorish and too human.
Yeah, that's right.
They were too Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just looked a bit weird. People thought, why is Sonic got a kind of, he looks like a little blue human.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit disconcerting. And then they went back, Universal Studios went back and they redid it. And in the end, the rendering of the character was fantastic.
It was.
That film, from what I recall, it played during 2020. I think it was a 2020 release around about pandemic, early pandemic stages time, and I think it overperformed in the market. So we're really expecting that film to be a bit of a winner for the families this school holidays. Opens March 31st.
Yes.
So it's got a couple of weeks running before the school holidays. So weekends, we're looking for it to be stacked with Sonic sessions here at Matakana anyway, and hoping for some good box office on that one.
It's got Jim Carrey in his element, really, in these kind of movies.
I think he's a big draw card. I really do. I think you can't underestimate the star power of someone like Jim Carrey. And I'm actually thinking about another film I'm about to talk about, which takes it to the next level.
Yes, sure.
And that would be The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Oh, yes, Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage starring as Nick Cage.
Yeah, about Nick Cage and going out and being Nick Cage.
Yeah, now... just quietly, someone on our team here at Matakana Cinemas has seen the film.
Really?
And it's not me,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Crikey.
I couldn't make the advanced screening. But what I'll also say is this staff member on our team is one of my key people.
Yeah.
He's a good guy, and he's also a massive Nick Cage fan.
Right.
In fact, Nick Cage is his favourite actor. Yes, people.
Really?
Yes, that is
look,
true.
he's done some great movies. You can't discount stuff from Nick Cage, like The Rock and things like that. You go back and watch him, and he's very good in them.
Yeah. So Matt, shout out to Matt, my fantastic right-hand man cinema manager.
Yeah.
His favourite actor is Nick Cage. Yes, there are people out there whose favourite actor is Nick Cage, and this is his ultimate film.
Okay.
He's gushing about it. 10 out of 10. So I take it with a grain of salt, right? Because Matt is just, Nick Cage uber fan.
Yes.
However, right now on Rotten Tomatoes, it's sitting at 100%.
I know.
And people are saying this is one of the best movies this year.
Yeah.
And what is interesting is, okay, are you going to go along and see it because you're a Nick Cage fan and love it,
Yeah.
or are you going to go along and see it, and even if you're not a Nick Cage fan, and love it? And that is the buzz we're getting, is that this film, hands down, is one of the best films you'll see this year already, and we're only, in March.
Yeah,
So,
well, I mean, he's taken the mickey out of himself, isn't he?
yeah, and
So,
and it's the kind of movie I think that adult filmgoers need right now.
mm,
Go, grab a bag of popcorn, action comedy, have a laugh, and see Nick Cage, and I might add, one of the hottest actors on the planet right now, Pedro Pascal.
yes, The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian, he did a fantastic job in Netflix's Narcos as well.
Yes, he did.
Where we first started to see him, but yes, he plays the Mandalorian, and that one is one of the biggest shows on the planet right now.
Yeah.
So, go see it is what I'm hearing. That is definitely one to look out for. Opens on April 21st, but we do have a special screening on Wednesday, the 13th of April, for the people who want to get it in early. Yeah.
Sure.
So, really looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
I'll just fire up the control system here, Brent. We're also looking at The Bad Guys, which is based on the best-selling kids book series.
Right.
Check out the trailer for that one. Animated film, perfect for the school holidays. Based, as I said, on a big book series. We're doing a promo with our local Walkworth Library on that one. There's a competition going on. So locals, if you tune into this, that's something to check out.
Cool. Get to the library, read a book, see the movie.
Yeah. Another shout out, Heather at Heather Jackson at Walkworth Library. She's awesome.
Yeah.
So I work with her a bit on that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Secrets of Dumbledore.
Yes, now I'm looking forward to this one.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Here's the film fan.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Harry Potter series. I like the first ones of these, but it's Jude Law in this one,
Yes.
right? And they've replaced Grindelwald, of course, with Johnny Depp is no more. And it's really funny because when I mentioned this on the radio, I said, and the guy that's playing Grindelwald, he was in Rogue One.
Yes.
And someone sent me a text going, of all the things that guy's been in, he plays Hannibal on TV, but you go straight to Star Wars. And I went, yes, I went straight to Star Wars.
So also a Bond villain in
Yes,
Casino
he
Royale,
is.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
What an actor.
He's amazing.
I don't necessarily watch the Fantastic Beasts films. I've seen most of the Harry Potter ones. Shout out to my kids for seeing those. But I think Mads Mikkelsen is fantastic. And just for the record, I think Rogue One is one of the best Star Wars films.
Absolutely.
Just quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it looks so good. I mean, I'm really excited about seeing that one.
Yeah.
The other two, I went, yeah, that's cool, but this one, yep.
Okay, well, we can help you out with that one.
Yeah.
You can come along and see it here at Matakana Cinemas.
I'll
Brent.
do that.
Okay.
That'll be good.
Do me a favour. Thank you. I'd love that. Now, there's a whole lot of advanced screenings going on at the moment. So, we've got the Bad Guys advanced screenings on April 2nd and 3rd here. We've got the Unbearable Weight advanced screening on April the 13th. We've got The Lost City coming up also, which opens on April 14th. But we are showing advanced screenings the weekend prior.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to the distributor of this film, Guy at Paramount Pictures in Auckland there yesterday. We had a really good phone conversation. Going back to the industry talk, we think this is a really interesting test case. Okay, so you can take a film like Sonic and the Bad Guys, released in the school holidays.
Yes.
They'll do some box office.
Yeah.
There is built-in franchise there with Sonic, and there's the book series with Bad Guys. So known properties. Fantastic Beasts, kind of the same thing.
Yes.
What else have we got coming up, big films-wise? Morbius, it's a Marvel film.
Yeah.
We've got Doctor Strange in early May, Marvel film. The Lost City is Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum playing a original screenplay comedy, action comedy. It's not a film that you've really seen over the last couple of years. That style of film has been a little bit kind of not happening.
No.
And I think a lot of the streamers have been doing them. What I'm hearing from the film is it is actually the perfect family popcorn film. It's sitting at about 75% critic, I might add, on Rotten Tomatoes, and about 90% audience. And I think audience, rating is far superior to critic, because we're not film critics.
No.
We're the audience. We're the ones who like to go and sit in a film and have a laugh. And also there's an appearance by Brad Pitt as like the hero savior. And the basic premise on this film is that Sandra Bullock plays a very successful Mills and Boon type author.
Yes.
And Channing Tatum plays her cover star who rides the horse with no top on and the long hair.
He's like the Fabio of this thing.
He's like the Fabio, right?
Yeah.
And this film finds her struggling with writing her next story. And she is trying to write it. Somehow she ends up in the jungle, and who wants to come and save the day but him?
Right.
And he thinks he's playing the cover star, but actually he's this sort of prima donna actor.
Yeah.
You know, he turns up in the jungle with his cucumber for his eyes and his neck pillow, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah,
and it sets up a really cool comedy premise. And I'm hearing really good buzz about this. But what Guy and I from Paramount were talking about yesterday is what's going to happen with this film? You know, in the market, you know, what's going to happen box office wise in New Zealand, of course, we're really interested in the local market here, but worldwide, is this film going to break out? And is it going to show that audience do want to see these kind of films in the cinema, not just Marvel films and, you know, franchise titles that are just, you know, Spider-Man was a great example. Was Spider-Man a massive film because it was Spider-Man? Or was it a massive film because people wanted to go back to the cinema? Or a combination?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're constantly trying to work out what's going on. And this is a really good test case.
So an original film, you're right. So it could be one of those great sleeper hits that all of a sudden they go, look how much money this is making, you know what I mean? And there's something else coming up. What's it called?
Yeah, well, here's another mouthful title. I mean, we mentioned the unbearable weight of massive talent earlier. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Huh?
I mean, I think that, I think that title captures you.
Yeah.
You just went, huh? Yeah. So you're thinking twice already. So the synopsis is an aging Chinese immigrant is swept up in an insane adventure where she alone can save the world by exploring other universes connecting with the lives she could have led.
Oh, crikey.
It's a little bit sliding doors.
Yeah.
I think they talk about the multiverse in Doctor Strange, and I think that gets mentioned in this film as well.
Oh, okay.
Now, it gets released in New Zealand cinemas on April the 14th. We're delaying it a couple of weeks for April 28th, but I think you just need to go and watch the trailer. That's really all I should say about it, apart from it's made by the Daniels. Look that up. And that a lot of people are saying it's a film like you've never seen before. Okay. So I think leaving a bit of suspense there is probably a good thing.
Right, that's good.
And I did mention April 28th. One more film, Brent. Downton Abbey 2.
Which is basically upstairs, downstairs from the program my parents used to make me watch in the 70s.
Yes. I know about it. I didn't get made to watch it because maybe it was a little bit before my time. Only a little bit before my time.
Yeah.
But of course, a built-in franchise, the hugely successful TV series and the first film from a couple of years ago went gangbusters. Another film that's been pushed back, built-in audience, April 28th, come and see it. Right?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Downton Abbey. Look, I'll be honest, I haven't seen any of the show.
Neither have I.
Okay. Anyway, Downton Abbey.
2.
No,
I'm really excited about the April slate. I think there's some really, really strong content in there, and looking forward to May as well. Things are looking much better content-wise, and you know, we've obviously got a lot of you know, bigger picture stuff that we're trying to navigate. But I think, you know, when I talk about content being king, I think it's looking pretty good, you know, and how are cinemas in New Zealand and worldwide going to go over the next couple of months is really interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, Dan, thanks for this first podcast. It's been really interesting.
Yep.
And if people want to get some tickets, what's the best way to do it for you?
Well, you can call us up, of course. We always love to have a chat on the phone. Yeah. It's pretty easy, and in fact, probably easier for you to jump online to matakanacinemas.co.nz. If you hit the film poster and the coming soon page with now showing, there's gives you the session times. Click through that. Book now. Too easy.
Yeah.
You can also use the website for trailers and discovering more information about the films. And if you're actually in the foyer here at the cinema, come and talk to us because we love talking about movies.
That's good. Well, there you go. It's our first podcast, The Film Man and The Film Fan. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, everyone.